Hi, Dr. Hutchins.
Hey.
You on your P's and Q's being our first one.
I didn't want to be late.
Thank you so much for joining. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I'm going to just get set up here on Facebook.
You get my crazy hair and all. Hello, y'all.
Can y'all hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good.
Oh, the mute, unmute. Hi, everybody. It's like not trying to not speak, not trying to not do that. But the mute button, if you look at the view button, and you select gallery or speaker, see if there's anything there. Also, if you just get a list of the participants, like
I do see that, Jamia. Under participants, I can control the mute.
Yeah.
Options.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jamia is one of my best friends, you guys. She's keeping me on my toes.
You might have to make me a co-host. Can I see if somebody writes in the chat?
Yeah, everybody should be able to see it, but
I just want to make sure.
Let me know if you don't see something. We could test it. Let's see.
It says meeting group chat, so I should be able to see.
Yeah.
Never mind. All right.
So I'm struggling finding the chat because I'm on, oh, I see it. Hitting the wrong button. All right. So I'm going to put up the question, well, the alphabetical order of the participants in the chat. Okay, can you guys see that in the chat? Okay, cool. Hi, Kiana. So you are muted currently. You have to unmute yourself if you want to speak.
Hello.
Hey, hey.
Hi.
Hey, Secret.
Hello, ladies.
You guys, I'm like so excited because we've never had this big of a group. Usually it's like half this number. So this is going to be juicy, and the topic is like, okay. So it's going to be juicy on all fronts. How have you guys been today? Anything interesting or fun to report for your Sunday?
I got a facial. That's about it.
Oh, nice. I haven't gotten a facial in years.
Oh, wow.
I know.
Wow.
Who did you go to?
Her name is Touched by Tamia.
Touched by
So,
Tamia.
yeah, she's
local Black, I'm sure.
She's Black.
Is she?
Yeah.
Okay, I figured Black owned.
Oh.
I just figured it was Black owned.
Yeah, she's Black.
Where's she located?
So.
Okay, nice.
Drop her information in the group chat.
I will. Let me see.
The last facial I got, it was a Black woman, but she was way out. I can't even remember what area that was, but it was like R&B music playing. I was like, I just love our people. We just need a gospel vibe. It was like 90s R&B, which is like right up my alley. Hey, Marlia. All right, ladies.
Working on unmuting. Hi, I just got done playing a vicious hide and seek game.
No worries.
I'm exhausted.
No worries. Take your time. We still have a few minutes. I appreciate you guys logging on early to just make sure all the technological things are out the way. That is just always my challenge. So thank you.
I love your hair.
Thank you. I had to prepare. It's like, I can't work out. It can't be raining. It can't be hot, too hot. It's just,
The
All
joy
the
of being
things.
natural.
Yeah, it is serious. It's like its own job being natural, I feel like. Mary
Oh,
Joanna.
yeah.
So I set it up so that everyone will be muted upon entry. Because there's so many of us, I figured it would be very important to have that boundary so that each panelist can talk, because we're going to have people who registered to be attendees. We did have over 40 registrants, so we'll see who comes. Sometimes people fall off if it's free, but we do have this recorded. It is put on my YouTube channel, and you can run it back, and there'll be a follow-up email to people who registered, and you guys will be able to use it, for your own personal promo, just referencing that link. So in a few minutes, when everyone is with us, we will get started. You'll introduce yourselves, your name, your business, your website, social media platforms. And because the topic is dealing with relationships, just so attendees kind of know who we are and where our viewpoints are coming from, we're also going to share our relationship status, whether that's single, dating, which means you're in a relationship, a divorcee, or married. And if there's anything that you don't want to share, you don't have to, you can just ignore or pass. And in a few minutes, when everyone's with us, I'll be repeating myself. So just nod and smile. But yeah, just giving you guys a heads up as to what to expect. Feel free to ask me any questions now that maybe is on your heart before we get started, if there's anything that you want to know.
I have a question, since this will be my first one with you. I understand that we're on Zoom and the majority of the panelists are going to be on here. The viewers, are they on social media, or are they on here, or how does that work?
So they're on here, which is why I have everyone being muted, because I only want the panelists to actually speak. So people who registered will get a Zoom link. They'll get the same Zoom link, but they will stay muted. And if they have questions or comments, they're going to write that in the chat. And then Dr. Hutchins is actually going to read from the chat. We'll be checking in at times to see, what input that they have that we can address, that the panelists can address as well.
Okay, so they won't have an opportunity to come off of mute. They can only speak to us through the chat.
Yep, they will not
Okay.
be featured panelists chiming in, but they can chime in through the chat.
Got it. All right, cool, thanks.
But that's a good question. Thank you, Kiana.
Who's watching Facebook if they write a question there?
That's the other thing. I will be checking.
Okay.
But if you want, you can totally check. It's streaming on my personal page right now. So if you can manhandle that, that would be great.
Oh, I don't know if I'm not no, I'm a good multitasker.
Okay, I was gonna say, I have it pulled up too, so
Let me see.
we'll see.
Jennifer. Nicole.
I was wondering if we had any men on this panel. I couldn't tell by all of the names.
Yeah, so because it is called Girl Talk, we have kept it to all women. The vision is really to create a safe space for women by women. This particular panel is even more unique because it's for Black women. In the past, I've really aimed to have a diverse group because I feel like our commonality as females brings us together. But specifically in our community, we have our own unique challenges and experiences when it comes to relationships. So that's why I wanted to kind of target it towards Black women. Hey, Ari.
So who's Pierre?
So far, we have you, Dr. Hutchins, Kiana, Jamia Lewis, Marlia Hall, Secret, Ari Baker, and Mary Johnson. So we're waiting for 4 more, and we have a few more minutes. and we will get started. And I have it streaming on Instagram, but the issue with Instagram is they're only going to see me. They're not going to be able to have access to the panelists. So that's why I encourage people to actually RSVP, sign up, and chime in the Zoom, or at least tap in with the Zoom. Jamia, what's going on?
I'm laughing because PRette, we didn't see you, Pierre.
I know, right?
What happened? I missed it. I was talking.
A guy.
Her question was, well, then who's Pierre? Don't leave, Pierre. I think he might have left.
I thought it was a guy named Patrick on here.
It was Pierre Patrick.
Or something like that, yeah. And he left. He changed it to Pierrette after you said that. And
I'm mad. I'm mad he changed it to Pierrette. That's hilarious. I mean,
that's
guys,
what I'm saying. I thought he was on the panel.
Guys can observe it, but it really is for us, you know, if they want to hear our thoughts, you know, but this is not a platform for us to be going back and forth with the gender wars and all that stuff. It's really a space for us. Pierrette.
I maybe should have just texted you that and not, because now he's gone. So
I didn't even see anybody register with that name. So that's interesting. All the people that registered were women. So I don't know. Buddy. I did think about having like one with guys, and I don't know. We'll see. I really like the whole female empowerment element. Anything else anybody do today? Dr. Hutchins got a facial. She's gonna hook us all up. She put it in the chat if you guys are interested in the area.
So I sold my first ballroom gown today. I finished sewing it today.
Congrats.
Thank you. I was feeling a little
awesome.
accomplished, but I haven't posted it because I looked raggedy. So I didn't want to put it on. Hair not done, toes not done, looking crazy.
Oh, you look super
So
cute.
do you make
Sorry.
Do you make prom dresses?
So I've never made anything, well, not a prom dress. I've never made one for anyone specifically. This is the dress that I made for myself.
Oh, that's
pretty.
beautiful.
Oh.
But I've been sewing for like a long time. So I'm just like, all right, let me just start doing new stuff, getting out there.
That's
Yes, I love that.
Thank you.
Get it. Okay, so Lisa's running late. I know Butta is gonna pop in. Nikki B might be late. I think her mom's birthday was today.
Oh, was it? Maybe I need to call her and tell her happy birthday. CJ, yo, I'm birthday today. I had to tell him that his aunt's birthday is today.
All right, ladies. Well, in the spirit of being prompt, we're gonna get started. Thank you guys so much for joining. I really appreciate you taking out time from your busy schedules, just even connecting together. I just love sisterhood and fellowship, and this is a win-win. Okay, Britt Page is in the house. I see you, Brittany. So we do have a heavy lineup. This is definitely our biggest panel since we started Girl Talk last year. I'm super excited. It's like double the numbers. So I'm really excited to see what comes out. I personally, even though I come up with some of these questions, I never answer them ahead of time. Like I always want to be spirit-led or intuitive. And we don't always hit all the questions, and some questions I throw out there based on the wave of the conversation. So I just like to leave that space for us to just flow and connect and bond. But we usually do have a laid back style. It's just kind of, you know, chiming off of your experience and what your thoughts are. You don't have to be an expert or an academic professor on the topic, but we want to hear what you have to say because we feel like you're a vital part of our life experience. I think we're all connected and have interdependent connections. So all of the panelists are female-led, you know, bosses, leaders, community organizers, doing their thing, influencers. And today's topic is, can Black love still happen? Okay. So I handpicked all of you guys for a few reasons. I wanted a multitude of experiences. I wanted people from different walks of life to come together so it wasn't just one-sided. And I think when we come together, we can see the fullness of what the solution is for our individual journeys. So in case I didn't say this yet, my name is Nicole D. Miller. I am an author, a blogger, a writer. I've released a few books, just released my debut novel, When Love Wins. You can learn more about that at whenlovewins.love. And we're going to introduce each of the panelists first in alphabetical order, starting with their last name. They're going to share their name. They're going to share their business. They're going to share their website and social media so you can follow up with them and learn more. And their relationship status, either single, in a relationship, dating, well, that's dating, single, in a relationship or dating, a divorcee, or married. Okay, so it's 4. And then we'll get started with the round 1 of questions. So the first person to go will be Ari Baker, then Brittany, Lisa, but she's not here yet. So if someone's not here, we can, skip them for now. Marlia Hall, Nikki B, Dr. Hutchins, Secret, Mary Johnson, Butter when she comes in, Kiana, and then Jamia Lewis. So we'll get started with you, Ari. And you can unmute yourselves before you talk.
There you go. Girl, I didn't know how to do it, child. I'm not good at technology. How y'all doing? My name is Ari. Her name is Ariel Baker. I am a nurse fitness coach. I practice holistic health, and I also teach a step aerobics class. My business handle is Train Ari Strong LLC. My web handle is trainaristrong.com. And you can also, my biggest platform is IG. It's also Train Ari _ Strong. And I am in a relationship right now.
Awesome. And if you want, you guys can put your stuff in the chat too, so attendees can have access to your handles and websites. We have Brittany next.
Hi, everyone. My name is Brittany, also known as Miss Britt. I'm an author, speaker, and creative, and you can check my website out at herwordsoflife.com, which I will be revising soon. And you can follow me on Instagram at The Right Model. That's THEWRITE, like writer, model. And I think that's it. And right now I am single.
So Lisa, I don't think she's here yet. So Marlia.
Hi, everyone. My name is Marlia Hall. I'm a wife, mother of 6, author, speaker, 2-time entrepreneur. I own a consulting company and a book publishing company, and I am the vice president of my husband's marketing agency. My life was not all this beautiful. A few years ago, I was just a struggling single mom with 46 cents in my name. And then one day I decided to let it all go, let God do his thing. He turned that 46 cents into $10,000, and my life has been amazing ever since. I literally met my husband while speaking on the stage, sharing my testimony and story. So I just know all things can happen no matter how bad it is. Right now, I am married. I am Marlia Hall on all platforms, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and my website is marliabrion.com, and my online academy is at lovingmefreely.com.
Thank you, Marlia. We're excited to hear your testimony. And Nikki B.
Amazing day, you all. Are you all able to hear me okay?
Yep.
Yeah. Perfect. I'm excited to be here with you all and to have this conversation. So I'm Nikki B, and my first name is actually Nicole. And as me and Nicole talked about before, so the name Nicole actually means victory of the people. So once I found that out, it just gave me a different purpose, and it gave me a different focus in how to live my life. So I am the host of VIP with Nikki B, and the VIP stands for Victory in People. So that's exactly where we see the victory in people, but most importantly, we want people to see the victory in themselves. And that's really, it started with me talking to myself. I think when you're talking to yourself, it transcends and talks to other people as well in their journey. Also, and also I am a speaker, I'm a host, and I also am the host of VIP with Nikki B on Cleveland Smooth Jazz, WJZZ. And at some point, hopefully I'll put it here in the chat if I have good communication here or good signal here. So, all right, you all, can't wait to get this conversation started.
Thank you for joining, Nikki, especially on your mom's birthday. Dr. Hutchins.
Hello, everybody. My name is Shamara Hutchins, Dr. Hutchins. I am a clinical psychologist by day, the mindologist by night. I own my own mental health agency, the Serene Counseling and Wellness. You can follow me on all platforms at The Mindologist. And I am married. I've been married for 15 years.
Hey. Awesome. Secret.
Hello, I'm Secret James. I am a registered nurse. I've been a nurse now for the past 8 years. I specialize in mental health. I'm also a newly yoga instructor. My handle on Instagram is Zendaddy, Zendaddy. The actual name is way too long, so just type in Zendaddy and you'll find me. But yeah, I'm very excited about today. Drum roll, I'm in a relationship now. Last podcast, I wasn't. So.
Yay, progress. All right, who's next? We have Mary Johnson.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mary Johnson. I am the owner of Vitamin Candy, which consists of 3 components, and that's fitness, wellness, and vegan food. I've been in the industry for almost 20 years now. I can't believe I'm saying that. I'm a certified personal trainer, nutrition, fitness coach, DNA diagnostic programmer. The list goes on and on. I'll be here all day telling you guys what I do, but yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it all. I am a 2-time author. I specialize in cannabis as well, and I am engaged.
All right.
Oh, my platforms. I didn't say where you can follow me. So vitamincandy.com, spelled totally wrong on purpose for trademark. And that's VITIMANKANDIE. And on my social media, it's all of them are Vitamin Candy, Vitamin Candy on IG, and then VK Fitness on IG as well.
Love it. And I love you're engaged. So we got to add an E. Single, dating, relationship, engaged, divorced, married. Okay. So I don't know if Butter's in yet, but we have Kiana here. So go ahead, Kiana.
Hi, everyone. Kiana Lavender. I am married. I am author, speaker, podcaster, lifestyle coach, blogger, and I am the CEO of Queen of My Success. I created it a few years ago, and the website for that is queenofmysuccess.org. My Instagram page is @Queen of My Success. I also have a TikTok, and it is Kiki Lava 9, KIKILAVA 9. And also, if you're interested in emailing me, if you have any questions or comments you would like to reach out directly that way, it is queensuccess25, or sorry, queensuccess25@gmail.com.
Awesome. And I don't know if you guys can save the chat, but I definitely will send the chat out to you guys after this. So you'll have everyone's information in the chat. Last but not least, my bestie, Jamia Lewis.
Hello there. I am, I'm Jamia. I'm from Cincinnati. So I actually think I'm the only one that's outside of the Cleveland area, but I'm a welcome guest in Cleveland.
She's an honorary member of Cleveland. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio. I'm an educator, have been in education for about 17 years now, and totally does not feel like that. So I teach high school. I'm also the founder the host of the Thanksgivers podcast and the Thanksgivers online community. And it is a community geared towards women of faith who have lived enough life to know that they don't have to pretend to have it together for anybody. And they know that life is hard. And so our desire is to persevere and praise no matter the circumstances. And so my relationship status is single. So I can say, like, I was thinking as people were talking, like I would say, real love, I'm searching for a real love. Like, it's true. I am. And so when Nicole asked about this, it was like, oh Lord, I don't know that I want to do this. But I told her, I was like, shoot, I better. This might be Marlia. I heard you say how like your husband saw you like giving your testimony somewhere. I told Nicole, like, this might be how my boo find me. I don't know. So let me be on here saying a few words. So, but you can find me on Instagram at the Thanksgivers podcast. That's probably where you're most likely to get an update about where I am, what I'm doing. And you can also listen to the podcast on all podcasting platforms as well. So, and I'll post my information in the chat as also.
Thank you, Jamia. If I'm hooking up anybody, hopefully it's myself too. So let me put that out there. I am single as well. But we do have Butter who just joined. So Butter, we're going around, we're sharing our name, our business, our website and social media platforms, what we do, and our relationship status, single, in a relationship and dating. Now we have engaged, married or divorced. Oh, you might have to unmute yourself.
Okay, there we go. I'm so sorry I'm late. That's why I'm late. I'm Butter, and I'm a tattoo artist in Cleveland. I have my own studio, Ink Therapy Studio. I do brows and tattoos and teeth whitening and you name it. My social media is That Girl Butter with an A on Instagram, or ButterCon on Facebook. And my website is inktherapystudio.com. And I am totally single.
So we got single, and totally single. Okay, we got any categories. But you can actually put your information in the chat. I'll be sending out a copy later on today. So the only person that we're missing is Lisa. She did say she's running late. So we're going to go ahead and get started with these questions, y'all, because I know y'all been waiting and practicing. So the first question is, what is your understanding of Black love, in quotes? And when did you first get introduced to this concept? So we're going to stick with our order, with starting with Ari.
Oh, look at God. Okay, everybody, let's see. Okay. My concept of Black love isn't totally rooted in the concept of marriage. It's more so that unconditional support between the two. Girl, boy, girl, whatever you like. It's be able to rely on someone when you can't rely on anybody else. It's being able to look forward to that person, even when you guys aren't on the best of terms. It's the concept of my life is better with you than without you. The first time I was introduced in Black love was watching TV, Martin and Gina, watching like Good Times, watching like Family Matters, things like that. Those were my portraits of Black love. And also with my mom she's a serial dater, married 3 times, divorced 3 times. So I didn't really get to know my dad, but I had my stepfather, and that was the example of Black love I had, toxic and untoxic. So.
Thank you, Ari. Brittany?
My concept of Black love is true commitment. And I would have to say, family-wise, some of those examples that I have seen personally My great uncle that I actually got to meet in 2010, which was my grandfather's brother on my mom's side, he was married to his wife for 65 years. And I'm so thankful I was able to visit them several times in DC and just listen to their stories on faith and love and raising a family. So that was probably the biggest example for me. So that's more recent. And then also I would say too, to some of my other cousins that I grew up with that are a bit older than I am, they've been with their spouses. Oh my goodness, they're like in their late 40s and stuff now, early 50s. They've been with their spouses like 25 years. So ever since they were like 17, 18 years old, and just the commitment that they've had and the example that they've shown and the families they have built. And then lastly, I would say a couple of my best friends, just through the ebbs and the flows of whatever happens, that they've really hung in there and stuck with their marriages as well. And same, and we all turned 40 this year. So they've been with their spouse, the same thing, late teens, early 20s. Those have been some of my examples.
Thank you, Brittany. And Marlia?
So I came into the knowledge of the term Black love when there was like this very recent, I think maybe within the past 5 years, the OWN network, they did like a Black love doc or a Black love series or something like that. So that was my first time actually hearing the term on social media. And I just compared that to people of like African or African-American descent deciding to go into a relationship together. So two African-Americans or whatever get into a relationship. Growing up though, my parents, I'm 35, my parents have been married for 37 years, and most of their friends all were these Black couples, Black women with Black men who were married with these Black families. And so that's really what I grew up around, and that's all that I saw growing up. But then I came to the realization like a few years ago, like there were some single parents that I knew, but they weren't like my families or my parents' friends. They might have been people that went like to the public school with me or something like that. So I got to see it through them, or even like blended families. But like growing up, everybody that I knew was a Black man with a Black woman with a bunch of Black kids, and everybody had the same parents.
Thank you, Marlia. Nikki B.
All right, that mute button was moving around.
It does that.
My first example of Black love, I just like Marlia was just talking about, I don't think I was familiar with the term until a few years ago, maybe a little more than that, but a few years ago, really. So to me, Black love is still love, right? Is authentically love. But I think we're special when we do decide to navigate in that journey. But for me, I'm not 100% sure that I really seen the man-woman at an early age, but the couple that I can remember from way back, my earliest remembrance is my aunt and uncle, which is my cousin's mother and father, which is actually Shamara's husband. So I seen their relationship, and that was my first real relationship that I seen that was a long-lasting relationship, right? So I seen them travel together, move on up together like the Jeffersons. And yeah, and other than that, it was really a lot of television. So I'm not even sure if I thought it was tangible. So to me, it wasn't really there until recently, really. And really, I guess this is going to be another question, so I'm going to pause right there. I'm gonna bookmark that.
Don't forget it.
Yes.
Dr. Hutchins.
Get the tightest fucking onesie and just throw that fucking ass.
Hello?
Throw it, bro. Throw that ass.
Hello.
Throw that ass. Hypnotic that.
Okay, guys.
Washing machine that ass. Spin it around.
trying to unmute it. All right.
All right. Well, that's a wonderful. So I had to actually think about the question when I read the question. I said, the first time I thought about Black love is Love Jones, because that's like my favorite movie, and then like ultimately my favorite movie. But growing up, the only person that really stuck out in my life was my grandmother and my grandfather. So I got to see the Southern marriage. So my grandmother was born and raised in Alabama, and I got to see the determination, the resilience, the dedication, the love through it all, the growth, the selflessness. So that's when I noticed, or that's when I think about, after thinking about the movie, I'm like, that's what I think about. That's where I first saw love at. And then, go to the Cosby Show, Family Matters, but mostly the Cosby Show, because that's the one that, I watched the most. And that's where I first saw Black love and understood it.
Thank you, Dr. Hutchins. I did figure out how to remove that individual, so that was the first for me. Anywho, Secret, you're next.
So my understanding of Black love would be just partnership. Like I'm from down south, so I had a lot of experience with, married couples, but sometimes it's a little bit different. You have couples that are married for love and you have couples that are married for stability. And what I saw out of both of them was partnership. At the end of the day, I saw a lot of, women leading the household and men covering the household. And so when I think of Black love, I just think of partnership. And if that's what I want, is a partner. Now, when did I first get introduced to love? I was very, very young, but books is what introduced me to love. And then later on down the line, when they started turning books into movies, I started actually seeing it. So I guess love was always an imagination of mine because I read a lot of books.
I would agree. That's a good point. Mary?
So my definition of Black love, I would say, it's so many things that I could say, but first and foremost is that spiritual connection. One of my favorite movies is Love and Basketball. That's actually how I kind of equate my relationship that I am in now. And just to put this disclaimer out there, I have been married before. Then I'm also a divorcee, so I just said my current status, but I've always been like a hopeless romantic. And my example was my parents, preferably my mother's side of the family always showed that aspect. My grandfather was with his wife for a long time. My grandmother died early on before I could even meet her. And but his second marriage, he was with her for a very long time. And my mom and dad been together for like 40 something years, still hanging on. And so if I would just kind of just in plain sight say like a Black love definition would be spiritual, undeniable spiritual connection, patience, and non-judgment.
Thank you, Mary. Butter?
I think it was love as a whole that I knew about, because I was born into parents that have been together now. I'm 44. My parents have been together for 50 years. My mother and father are 6 years apart. My mom was 17 years old. So I was raised around a Black family. Like, we've had families living with us. We've had foster, brothers and sisters. And what it taught me was about love, support, struggle. It's about an understanding. I really I didn't know about Black love per se, but it was already there, put in me because of what I was around. So I'm lucky enough to have, two parents who have been together for so long. So I got to see the ugly side of it, but also the beauty that came out of it for them being together for so long and fighting for each other and supporting each other. But I really take that to being Black love as having like a mutual understanding of real love and support. And I think that definition goes so long. But it's an understanding of each other, of your backgrounds, of your current space, and being able to connect with each other to make something work that's way bigger than just about one person. So I think I could say that it started from my parents, really, and growing from there. I've never honestly experienced it being 44 years old. I've never experienced true love outside, in a relationship status. My true love comes from family and friends and my children. So that's what I know about Black love.
Thank you, Butter. Kiana.
All right. So for me, my understanding or definition of Black love is where you are just with someone that really connects with you in ways that are just difficult to describe. Like you just feel a special way when that person is near you or enters a space. It's just an unexplainable feeling. That's how I felt when I first realized that I was in true love with someone. And that became evident with my husband. I could say that honestly because the previous relationships were based off of toxic love, toxic lust, toxic everything. And like he and I would joke about like having butterflies because those were the feelings that we had when we would be around each other. But it actually wasn't funny, but it really was something that we learned about one another. And I can't really say that I knew about Black love before it became a title, like really in social media and throughout the world, basically. Someone else said something about seeing that series on Black love. He and I watched that together, and I was also told about watching it through therapy and just understanding that when you're truly with someone, you don't have to think about it. You don't have to think about why, you just do. And that's how I experience love with someone that I truly love. And like also said in the past conversations that people said today, like the love that I saw was mainly on TV. It was a fairy tale. It was something that I didn't realize was real in real reality because of movies like Love Jones, Love and Basketball, The Wood, and The Best Man. Like those were the ones that came to mind for me because I didn't see it in my real life. Like I didn't see it in my family on a regular basis. So that's where I first like started seeing that it was something that I wanted. And like the celebrity couples, I think that was part of the question too. I saw like Sierra Russell and Viola Davis. And also Steve and Marjorie, even though people say weird things about them, those people are like my idols when I think about Black love and like a good relationship with someone.
Thank you, Kiana.
You're welcome.
Jamia.
Black love. I'll just like some of the other panelists shared that specific phrasing. I don't remember that being popular or even something that was used until the past several years, recently, specifically with that show, Black Love. And however, I do have like memories of like a Black couple, like Black couples early on. And so I remember it being a distinction, like this is nothing anybody explicitly said to me, but I just remember there being opinions if there was a situation where there was a Black man who did not choose to be with a Black woman. I remember that very early on. Just seeing examples of that. And then even so I just turned 40 this summer, but even thinking about and pop culture, things that were around at that time, like the movie Jungle Fever came out around that time. Like, so it was a topic of discussion. I feel like something to point out if a couple, if there was an interracial couple. Now, as far as like my definition today of Black love and what that is, I would say the phrase that comes to mind for me is against all odds. And I mean that, what I mean by that is that like there is such, and I'm specifically speaking of like American Black, not African Black. There is such generational trauma that we've lived through historically as a people that, it's like when you see people making it, when you see people that look like you making it, it makes you feel good. you know, and that's not to say that that somebody has to choose someone Black to be with, you know, like I'm not saying that at all, but for me, it makes me feel good to see that, because it's like, wow, against all odds, you know, thinking Dwayne and Whitley from a different world, you know, that being a love story that so many people I know love to witness, and on the Cosby Show as well, you know, like we can't erase no matter what, you know, Bill Cosby's issues and actions have been, like we can't erase the imprint of that show on our culture. And then I'll say one other thing too. My great grandparents. So on my mom's side of the family, there's a story that has been told and retold over the generations about my great grandparents and how they met and fell in love. And part of the story goes that my great grandfather was working for the railroad, and the well that was on my great great grandparents' property was where like the men that worked on the railroad would come. And so one day my great grandfather saw my great grandmother and said she was the prettiest Black gal. She had big legs and was the prettiest Black gal that he had ever seen. And then the story goes on from there. But I just, as a child, that story always touched my heart. Like, yeah, I want that, you know. So yeah, Black love against all odds.
Thank you, Jamia. You definitely inspired another question that I'll throw out there. I will answer the question and say, I wasn't privy to the term Black love until like social media made it popular. I definitely didn't have that example in my home. My first real love was actually an interracial relationship, but he was Black cultured. And I think that there's something to that. So even in my dating journey, what I've learned is like, I need to connect with someone culturally. So even if they're in a different race, like you just gotta be woke. You gotta get my culture. I can't be explaining and teaching, none of that. So for me, I'm definitely looking for Black love. I think we've already kind of touched on how much media influenced us. I would definitely say the Cosby Show, Family Matters, even like subconsciously, didn't even realize we were seeing these wholesome depictions of Black love. And then, you know, Barack Obama choosing Michelle, that was huge. So I am gonna toss out a question inspired by Jamia's statement, because we have all Black women on this panel for a reason. So this is a safe space for us to share our truth. How do we feel currently about Black men choosing other? If they're not choosing a Black woman, how do we feel about them choosing other? So we're gonna reverse the order and start with Jamia first and go backwards alphabetically. Do you have anything extra you wanna add, Jamia? Because I know you kind of shared some things, so.
I do, and I'll say, it is like my early model, you know, was to like feel a certain way about it. But I would say for me, my siblings, 3 of my siblings are married, and they're all married to someone that's white. And so for me, it's a matter of, you know, looking at it like, does this person love my sibling? Do they love them? Are they checking for them? Are they good to them? Is my sibling happy? Well, then, okay. So it's like in that sense, it's like, it's none of my business. Yeah, it's none of my business. I know what I want for me, and I know what I've been open to. So I've been open to talking to men who are not Black. And when it's come down to it for me, like it's really been Black men, that is my preference.
Kiana?
I'm actually glad that you brought that particular part of the question out, because as I was looking at the questions that you have provided us previously, you know, to us getting online and everything, I was like, what about other love? You know, but I get that we're talking about this because there aren't enough people that are Black that can see the love from their family, from you know, their upbringing and things like that. But I personally started to think about that when I was looking for my actual husband. And I'm like, all right, let me just stop looking, because that person that's for me can be any color. You know, I've dated other races, but when you're trying to connect with somebody, you definitely don't want to be in that space where you're explaining like your hair, for example. Like, you don't want to be like, look, don't touch my hair, or don't worry about my bonnet, or, you know, just things like that. But I think that the opportunity is open for love for anything, but it's like you don't really want to put stipulations on it. And granted, with stereotypes, you might see, oh yeah, he's with that woman, she's black, I mean, she's white, or she's Asian, or whatever, and they taking all our black brothers and stuff like that. And it's like, well, why can't I find somebody? And it's like, really, that person is with that person because that's their match, that's their chemistry. They're connected to each other. And I get what she said a minute ago, like, you might be judging it, like, do they really love them, you know, because they're not the same race. But hopefully that isn't the case. But in our minds, it's the stereotype behind it all. They shouldn't match because they're different races. But all in all, people are people. So that's the way I feel about it.
Thank you, Kiana. Butter? Oh, I'm sorry. You're muted.
Oh, there we go. Other races, it doesn't bother me, because like they were saying, piggybacking off of that, it's about real love and true love. And does this person support you and respect you? You may not be connected. No, I don't want to have to teach someone everything, but there's a difference between having to teach someone who's so solely ignorant on it that they're not respecting me enough to really go that deep to really understand me and learn me, because anyone who's going to love me is going to try to learn me anyway. You already have to learn each other. So other cultures, it wouldn't bother me. And honestly, I don't have much luck with my culture anyway. So it's like, if that happens to be who my soulmate is going to be from another race, then so be it. It's about real love. I'm attracted to Black men. I love Black men. I would hope that I do find an amazing Black man, but if it happens to be another race, I'm not against it. And I'm not against anyone else, you know, seeing other men with, you know, other races. It doesn't bother me, because if that's what they're looking for, they're not going to be happy with their race. I mean, you choose what you choose. So it doesn't really say you're taking our men, because obviously that one wasn't for me. So I don't care. So that's how.
Point. Mary?
So, you know, I, like Butter said, whatever floats your boat, that's your business. But I like to speak on the fact of how in most Black families being raised up to just, you know, deal with your own kind. My dad was big on that. He didn't want any interracial relationships and stuff going on, but be that as it may, we were still allowed to make our own decisions. And one particular subject I want to speak on is my brother, God rest his soul. His wife, he was married to an Italian lady. And just experiencing that relationship, like, you know, they were a little different. I could tell that she loved my brother, but we did see some things that we didn't agree with. And I don't think that the family agreed with their relationship. And although we were more accepting of them, it was harder on my brother's end, you know what I mean? And so to that point, like I said, I'm not against it, but just make it make sense, because love is love, right? We all bleed the same blood. It doesn't matter who you don't know who God decided to put you with to be your match, but just make it make sense that, you know, that you're being treated equally. But that was just my experience of it. And not only was it different for him with her parents, she was a little, you know, apprehensive about all of his sisters, probably because of that situation, not knowing, you know, how to feel. We're talking about racism And, families not intertwining because of what we learned in the history books. And so maybe that made her uncomfortable just speaking from the other side. So like I said, to each his own, but that's my experience.
Thanks, Mary. Secret?
So I've never personally dated outside of my race. I don't have an issue with anyone who does date outside of their race. But one thing that I have seen, like I said, I'm not from here. So I've been here for almost 10 years now. But the biggest thing that I have seen is it's okay to date outside your race. Where my problem comes in is you do not have to tear me down because you want to date another race. I'm perfectly fine with that. My issue with people dating outside of their race comes when they have to tear down their own race, or people who look like their sisters, their mothers, and their aunts. And I've experienced a lot of that, more specifically in the Cleveland area than anywhere, but I've experienced a lot of that. I'm the girl who's never been Black enough for the Black people, and I've never been white enough for the white people. So I'm kind of in between. I'm always a little loner. But I've just never felt comfortable with dating people outside of my race because of that fact. And I don't have much luck dating people within my race either because of that fact. So love is love. Love whoever you want to love, but you don't have to tear down your people just because you don't choose them.
Thank you, Secret. I definitely can resonate with some of your statements. Dr. Hutchins?
All right. So like everyone said, love is love, but I'm going to be honest. Sometimes it hurts seeing, our Black men with other races, only because of statistics. There's a lot more women than men in the world. So it just, in your mind, subconsciously, you'll just think like, man, there goes another one. That's one less person I have. That's one less person that I can see. Or, there's one less person out there for me to meet. But obviously, if they love them, they love them. We can't control that, and that's okay. But when you think about subconsciously as a woman, just knowing that we have so many of us, and even no matter the race, so little men. So it's just like, where's my match at? So that's my 2 cents for it.
I love that you feel in our single because you married, but I appreciate
I mean, I've been married since high school, so
yeah.
I'm a psychologist, so I hear it all the time.
You see it. Nikki B?
The younger me did have a problem with it. Like Dr. Hutchins was just talking about, I would get a little like, right? Like, why he with her, right? But now it doesn't faze me really. Again, because being on this journey of getting to know who I am and whose I am, right? I understand what true love is, right? So, yes, Black love, I understand that there's something sacred and something special there, but I also understand the meaning of true love, right? 1 Corinthians 13. And so reconciling that, or putting someone up against that, or comparing them to what true love is. Love is patient, love is kind, love is not proud or boastful, or does not keep a score, a record, right? So to me, does this person truly love the other person? And will we really know? Sometimes we may be able to tell by their actions, but for me, I don't have too much to say about that one, because my younger self would have been like, now why are you with her? Right? You need to be with a Black woman. But who am I to say that? Again, love it transcends color. Love is ultimately the spirit, and that is not it really isn't a gender. It really is not a color. So that's my opinion, and that's what my experience is when it comes to that question. So great question though.
Thanks, Nikki B. Marlia?
I love how you said that, Nicole. So I'm gonna be real honest with y'all. The immature version of Marlia had a very hard time with this up until early 2023. I don't know why I've always felt this need for like women to just be loved by a good Black man. Like I love it. I love a good, hardworking, intentional Black man giving all of that good hard work and intentionality to a Black woman. It's like something that it just does something to me. But I'm a mom with 4 boys, and my husband really had to sit me down and had this conversation with me. And by the end of it, I realized my boys can date whoever they want to, as long as they are being loved, they are being respected, and they're creating the families that they want to, and all of that. But I've been very selfish. Like my brother, he's an excellent Black man. I mean, top tier at the age 30, multiple degrees, no kids, own house, no debt. Like he's just like top tier Black man, loves God, loves people, like all these things. And I was just like, don't you come home with no, don't you give all this, you know? And I was just like that crazy sister. And he did end up meeting a beautiful Black woman, and she's my sister-in-law. So I'm very thankful for that. But it's weird that I felt this way because my aunt, the aunt that I speak to the most is a Caucasian woman. My uncle has been married to her for over 20 years. And I've known her for so long, and I don't see her as a white woman, but she's white through and through. White through and through. Ain't no Black in her, right? And though she's down with the culture, she's a white woman. And then my 2 male cousins are also married to white women. And somehow I just overlook these women being white, and they're just like, they're my cousins. But no, they're white women. And I love these women for these Black men. And they are so good to these Black men, and they serve them, and they love them, and they raise their babies, and they cook for them, and they do all these amazing things. But I'm going to be very honest. I just came to this space of just being okay with people doing what they want to do, because I have been a very controlling family member. All right, I'm done.
Thank you so much, Marley. I appreciate your authenticity. And Brittany?
I don't have a problem with interracial dating. However, I do understand the argument. And I believe, my personal opinion, our community has been so pitted against one another, and society's perception through media and what we represent and what we stand for as a community. I think that's played a big part in some of the reason why Black men sometimes, decide to date other races. And I mean, I think people skim over the issue as well, like, how you're raised at home and what you're surrounded. Many people have deep-rooted issues they haven't healed within themselves, like mom issues, dad issues. So that plays a part in your decision-making also. And I believe that a lot of that, it comes from that, it stems from that at times. And I think, from what we see as far as the celebrity aspect, and just hearing some of the stories, like they're put around certain situations, so they're around certain people, and they get these experiences, so they date all different types of people as well. I think some people too is more on the superficial side of, I want to be with this exotic looking person, or this and that. Like it could be different angles, but like as far as our community is concerned, I do think at times, sometimes, because those issues have not been dealt with about the perception of what they think a Black woman is, I think that's some of the reasoning why they make the decisions that they make, in regards to who they date and why they choose. And that healing has to come from within.
You brought up a really good point. Ari? I love what you said last night too, Ari. That definitely inspired this question.
Oh, I've been rocking in my chair trying to get this answer. I'm so excited about it. Okay. So maybe it's an age thing. I'm 34 years old, and I'm sure my answer is getting ready to bite me in my ass later on. But I'm just going to be real. I have an issue with it. Not an issue to the point where it bothers me deep down in my spirit. But if you ask me, when I see a Black man with a white woman, is it okay for me? I'm going to go ahead and be transparent and say no. It's not so much the idealism of we don't have enough Black men, even though we statistically don't. I'm not worried about a man who doesn't want me. It's the why behind it that bothers me. If you're a Black man that's dating a white woman, like Secret said, because you have some past trauma with your mom, your aunt, an ex-girlfriend, and you decided to write off Black women because of that. That's an issue for me. And what I found is that's pretty prevalent. A lot of Black men do have unhealed wounds in relation to their relationships with Black women. And instead of addressing it in like therapy in a healing manner, they project it onto every other Black woman. And that's why I don't particularly care for it. I think that Black women are the #1 population that's plagiarized, imitated, copied. So it's like they love our blueprint, but don't want to deal with us. So when I see a Black man dating a white woman that wears her hair like a Black woman, has lip injections like a Black woman, has had body work done to make her butt bigger like a Black woman, and you say you don't like Black women, I'm calling BS. I think you love Black women. You just have some deep-rooted issues in relation to that. But this is why it's an issue for me. I have a Black son. He's autistic, and he goes to a school that's primarily white, and beautiful school, but all his teachers are white. So now when he goes out into public, I see him attracted to white girls and white women. And is it a concern for me? Yes. But because my son, he has autism, my goal as a mother is just to make sure that he's with a woman that will support and love him unconditionally. So idealistically, I want him with a Black woman. I want most Black people with Black people. And another thing that I keep hearing people say that it's not that it's not true, but I'm gonna give a little pushback. When they say love is love, that's true, but no. Every other culture is very intentional with who they date. Asians date Asians. White people, for the most part, date white people. Arabics, they don't play. Jewish people, they don't play. And then when we get to our culture, somehow it's, well, if we find love anywhere, it's fine. And I don't really agree with that. Like, I do believe that while our chances are a lot slimmer and harder, I'm very intentional with dating Black men because I am adamant about having Black love. Now, of course, we're going to probably talk about this a little later on. Am I willing to date outside if push comes to shove? But I do think that Black people, we became very strategic about dating just Black, including men. That's the problem, because Black men aren't thinking like Black women, like I could only date Black women. If we all had the same mindset, I absolutely believe that we can find Black love within the community.
Well said. I will chime in and say, I do feel some kind of way if I see a Black man with an other, but I do recognize that love is deeper than just skin. So there are certain people in my life who are in interracial relationships. I myself have been in an interracial relationship. And kind of like Marlia was saying, I don't even see that there's a white person because I have a relationship. I think when we have a relationship with people, we see past skin color. It's about that deeper connection, right? But I do, in hearing you guys share, I recognize, oh, it's the why. Why are you with this person? Is it your unhealed trauma? Is it the messaging that the media has put forth that white is right and lighter skin is better than darker skin? And then they usurp our bodies, our lips, all of those things to try to look like us, but don't give us credit. That's a whole nother thing. So maybe it's my own past history of mistreatment from Black men as well that Secret touched on. And those are the things that I deal with. But ultimately, yes, at the end of the day, it is about love. I totally get that, but I'm not going to lie and say I don't be feeling some kind of way because I know the hardship our community faces with finding healthy, long-lasting relationships. So because this was such a meaty topic, I just want to give our panelists a chance to piggyback off of anything that any of the panelists said that kind of stirred up something else. You might want to chime in on this particular topic.
Nicole, there's somebody did put something in the chat pertaining to this. It was Sabrina. She said, I'm in Seattle now, but my hometown is Battsville, Arkansas, and the mixed race families have left the Black women with literally nothing to choose from. Most of the young Black men, some are my relatives, literally thought their relationships provided them with a personal connection to business opportunities and find that they are really in a pressure cooker because they weren't prepared to deal with the new social positioning they found themselves in. Black women, on the other hand, have historically had this access from the enslavement to domestic workers, to advanced educational degrees, to working in high-ranking professional jobs. So I'm also seeing a disconnect with history and culture that is literally taking on a state of or short. Yeah. So this is such a great conversation. Okay, that's all.
Thank you so much, Sabrina. That's such a great point that Black men could be marrying for status, social status. And it goes back to the why. And then how are we as Black women affected by that in numbers? We kind of talked around it. I don't know if anyone has specific statistics of Black women and Black men, how our particular community has been impacted.
5 to 1. I know it's 5 black women to 1 Black man.
And so then it's like, well, what Ari said is, if our mindset was only to date Black and their mindset is to date other, that's like limiting our options even more.
Yeah.
Go ahead. So I wanted to piggyback off Ari because she does make a great point. But I also think about it in a situation for myself with my kids, not so much with me. Me growing up in a mixed community, we had Black, whites. Now you always want your kids to have better than what you have. Now living in a, all Caucasian community, now I have to think about, oh, my child might not have the opportunity to be able to meet a Black guy, right? It's going to be slim to none because of where we live at. So now I have to, have that sense of direction, like, and if she goes to college, she might not go to a HBCU. So she really might not have that opportunity. So she never knows, who she can connect with that is African-American. So now I have to have the mindset of being open because she's not around African-Americans that much. And if there is, it's like, where's Waldo? Like it's a handful of us.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I see you have your hand up.
I was just going to say also, to just 2 or 3 generations ago, our community, they had to stick together because of what was going on in society, our parents' generation, our grandparents' generation. And it's just like as time went on, because of some systemic things and, things that came into play in our society, that whole situation kind of shifted. And now you have a generation that does not have that understanding or recollection if it's not being shared with them, and driving us as a community farther apart. So I think that's another part of the issue. When things start to really kind of take a shift and dive, 70s, 80s, you start to see drugs and things come in, and you start to see more of that split. But when our parents grew up and our grandparents grew up, they had no choice really in most cases but to stick together. Were those situations always the best situations? No, they weren't. But when push came to shove, they did what they had to do. And now I think so many situations, people are just easily ready to throw in the towel because of what they see on social media, or because what their perception of what they think they know is going on in a specific situation is, but you may really have no idea. Like the grass isn't always greener because someone's portraying something. Not to say some people are not happy, but some people, they are having hardships. They are having a hard time. And then lastly, I would say too, just the way our image has been just thinking about what Ari said and about like how different races do all these things. If you look back at commercials and stuff, even if you think about us growing up, they used to show more positive imagery of Black commercials and Black people like with hair and different things, and how that perception has just changed. So all of that, stirred up, it plays a part. It molds people's thinking, and we have to be very intentional about making our own decisions out of a true, genuine space in our hearts.
Thank you so much, Brittany. You bring up the commercials. I see a lot of interracial couples with Black women in natural hair and interracial couples. That's what I'll be saying. But we definitely got some hands raised. So first Secret, then Jamia, then Mary, then Ari.
Okay, so I actually was stalking the chat, and iPhone user 207 said, major issue because of the why. Black men claim they date out of their race because other races are easier to deal with. Major issue. Colorism is real, but Black men that I have spoken to say that Black women are too picky and they don't attract Black women. Willing to elaborate, but it's frustrating. Cultural differences are real. And to piggyback off of that comment, because, and off of Ari's as well, that is a known thing within our communities. A lot of the women that the Black men are going to are literally duplicates of the Black woman. They have everything that we have, or I mean, they go and possess everything that we have and appropriate it, but they don't want us. We're too angry. We're too bitter. We talk too loud. We're too much. But when it's done with a person who looks different, it's accepted on a different level. And that is kind of where the big issue comes in at when it comes down to the dating outside of the race. No, I have no desire to date outside my race. I know love is love, but I will be alone before I date outside my race, just because, like I said, down south is different. I know Caucasian people on a different level, but I do have Caucasian friends. But I also have Caucasian friends who only date Black people. That's a problem for me because, one, they appropriate what we do. They listen to the same music that we listen to. They try and talk the same way that we talk. They try and move the same way that we move. And the reason why you like them over why you would like someone who looks like me is because of the way they look, not the way that they act. If your preference is to date someone that looks like that, that's fine. But do not tear down your sister because you like the looks of someone else. And it's always going to be that for me.
Thank you, Secret. Jamia?
Couple of different thoughts. I'm gonna try to keep it short. Let me push the lower hand button. I'm gonna try to keep it short because I feel like, yeah, like some things are just will be echoing what someone else said. I think one, colorism, like, so as was brought up in the chat, like colorism is a big deal in our community in terms of, you know, like how people perceive beauty or what's acceptable, or if it looks close to like what looks next to whiteness specifically. And I think that, you know, there are, to the point of some of the other panelists, there are instances that I've heard of where some men, like, that's their feel, like, well, Black women are too this or too that. And so for that reason, you know, I want to choose outside of that. And I guess in terms of, I guess what my question would be in a situation like that, or even as I think about, as I referenced my siblings earlier, you know, did they have a partner that saw their humanity? You know, does this person see their humanity? If it's not a fetish, you know, like, I just want to be with somebody that's different, because sometimes it's that too. And I think some of the just with online dating and the prevalence of it, and, you know, how most people in our generation are familiar with it, I think that is something like that I've learned that I have to look for. Like, is this man only saying something to me because this is a fetish? Like, because the idea of talking to a Black woman, like, ooh, what is this about to be? Because I think it is like that for some. But the other thing that I wanted to say was just, I think one reason why it strikes a sore point for many Black women is because it brings up a feeling of rejection, you know, like it is piercing in that way, you know. So is there, oh yeah, that's what it can bring up. Yeah, that's all.
Thank you, Jamia. Quick shout out to iPhone 207 who brought her glass of wine, because that's what it says to do on the flyer. That is the vibe. I see you. Okay, Mary.
So I wanted to touch on the why in the aspect of what we have access to. And I think, first of all, Black family's been told to, like suppress everything. Don't say this, don't say that in a average Black family growing up, right? At least that's what I've experienced. But then as we fast forward and as the years go on and now we're married or dating and, in these relationships, I feel like having this access to social media plays a vital role in that in today's age now, because they say the Black woman talk too much. Now everybody posting all of these things. And I think part of the reason why they may date outside of the race is because, others may follow the assignment. Don't say this. I'm gonna just use a basketball player as an example. We know that that's the trend, the trendy thing. They always say, Black basketball players always date white women or women of other races. But I think that's one of the reasons why is because of the Black woman now has an opinion, and we're so like in the forefront. We've been pushed forward when we didn't have a voice, and now that we have a voice, they may be intimidated by that. And they, it's always like, you let the man lead, but now we're leaders, and that could be an issue. The social media thing is just out of control. I mean, people do talk too much sometimes. Your personal business isn't everybody's business. So I think that some Black men are turned off by that too. And the last thing is this free spirit that kind of takes away the respect of how a woman should be carrying herself. And I think that goes with all races. But with Black women in particular, this day and age, the level of self-respect has kind of been watered down a little bit. And maybe that might be another reason.
Thank you, Mary. Ari?
Let me see. Am I muted?
Nope, we hear you.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. One of the things that I was just thinking about is about status. I think the hard part when I see a successful, and I'm just gonna be honest, because that's just what it is, a successful Black man dating a white woman, it's almost like Black women are good enough to be the stepping stone. We're good enough to be with you during the building phase. We're good enough to be with you when you don't have any money. We're good enough to be with you when your credit's poor. We're good enough to be with you when we're in the trenches. And then when you get some status, you forget about us. So, and then when I hear things like, well, I don't date Black women because they talk back too much. Well, when Italian women do it and when Hispanic women do it, they're spicy and they got a little zest. But when we do it, it's being disrespectful. And I get pushback on that. I think everything is directly related to slavery. Just think about it. When Black men would see the house mistress, the white house mistress, and they would have an affair and have sex. It's almost like wanting that unforbidden fruit, that thing you can't have. And if I get it, that means I'm something. That means I'm someone. I'm not just a regular, typical slave. So a lot of these men, they don't understand how psychology works, that's been passed down on to you generationally, that you want that one thing that takes you to the next level. You don't want to be that typical Black guy that dates just a Black girl. You want to say, I'm that millionaire who can get that person or that woman that no one else can have. I could get Shaniqua from down the street, but I don't want her. I want so-and-so. And I think that's the biggest issue with us. I want to choose someone who I think is better than you, even though they didn't help you build. And that's the part that I have a hard time with.
Woo, my heart. Yes. Marlia?
So I wasn't originally going to say this, but now that Ari said that, I do believe that a lot of things are just almost ingrained in our DNA since slavery, for us not to value, for us not to be seen as valuable as Black women. There aren't that many people outside of even people in our race who are uplifting us. We are a very torn apart race where we're constantly putting down the men. We're constantly putting down the women. And I don't think that we're always seen in the best light. But Mary, you said that thing about that respect issue and women not respecting themselves. So my husband and I he's more vocal than I am. But when we see stuff, sometimes we comment on stuff. And just recently, my husband and I were out somewhere where there were other couples, and there was one woman who was actually married, and my husband didn't know she was married. And my husband was like, now that's the type of girl you take home and you do whatever you want with her, but you don't wife her. I was just like, babe, she was there with her husband. He was like, no, she wasn't. I was like, yeah, babe, like that dude, that was her husband. He's like, so he just let her out the house with everything showing. I mean, I just, and there's this thing, even though men don't talk about it, because I hear it from my husband, men really don't want to wife the girl that shows it all, that leaves nothing to the imagination. And yes, you could say you're free. I mean, Lord knows I was super free. When I was young, I was super free. You could find me wearing anything at any time, right? But I didn't respect myself back then. I used to have my everything out. Honestly, I thought I had this cute little body, these nice breasts. I don't have them anymore, y'all. I had a lot of kids. All these things used to be real nice, And when I was young before kids, I used to go to parties, be in the clubs, like everything was just fitting the way it needed to. But that wasn't the person that they were wanting to wife or take home and meet mama. So I just know, like, for the single women in this group, yes, you can express yourself, but there are a lot of men, especially Black men, who they might not say it. They might take you home and do all these things and, they're just not going to marry you. A lot of them don't want that. They don't want this woman who, I guess, doesn't seem like a wifey material. They'll date you for 10, 15 years, but they won't marry you. They're really looking for classy women these days. At least that's what I've been told. So that respect, yes, yeah.
Thank you, Marlia. And later on, we're going to talk about how to help us classy women, because it's still rough out here. Go ahead, Butter.
Hold on. I just wanted to say this statistic in the group or from the chat. The most recent census show that 80% of Black men make it over $100,000 a year and marry Black women.
I saw that. I'd be interested in looking into that.
Can you put the link in the chat for us so we can read that?
I don't think that might not be a lie. And I was just thinking to myself, what if that's the truth and media is just choosing to show that we're separated? Because think about it, not about to get on my Black Panther stuff, but every decade there's something implanted to ensure that the Black community and the Black couple does not stay together. We had World War I, World War II, the drug epidemic, then the pandemic in itself, COVID. I do a lot of research on autism. That is a thing. All of a sudden, I feel like it's something else going on, something greater than what we're seeing on surface, because we're really powerful as a unit. So if they could possibly find a way to make us continuously fight amongst each other to think that we are separated and that Black men aren't choosing us, then we will date outside of Black men, and therefore we'll go ahead and date outside of our race, therefore never coming together as a people. So I can definitely see how that could be a thing.
Thank you, Ari. You bring up a good point about media and the messaging in media. Butter's up next. Go ahead, Butter.
I was actually going to say something about that, what Ari was speaking on, because I totally agree with that. Because it seems like I hear my circle is full of people, of Black couples, business oriented, family oriented, married, about to be married, just strong Black couples. And I hear a lot about how the men are talking about their choices as far as looking for a strong Black woman. But then I hear the Black women saying the same thing about looking for a Black man. But then I think it's the social media these days that's screwing a lot of things up, that's giving it this viewpoint of, it's pointing out and making the ones that are choosing badly or being raised differently these days. I don't know what's going on with the world, but it's really weird now. And they're choosing oddly, and it's making some of these younger girls putting themselves out there, because I consider myself a free spirit, but not in the terms that you guys are speaking on, because I definitely keep it classy. I'm a free spirit. I'm spiritually connected. So I'm more grounded. So I'm accepting in different races, but I'm looking for a strong Black man. I would love to find one if the love of my life doesn't end up being something else. But I just think that like we have this view that's thrown in our face so much of, you know, there's not enough good Black women out there. And now we're saying there's not enough good Black men out there. And so now we're putting against each other, just the same as the shades of our skin, how we color shame ourselves so much. I'm not Black enough for some Black people. And for white people, I'm not, you know what I'm saying? I'm not white enough for them. So it's like, we shame ourselves instead of supporting each other and saying, no, that's not really how it is. And really putting back in that old school teaching, like I'm old school taught. Like my parents, you know, got through hard times and they support each other. And I just don't see that anymore. Now we're putting ourselves out there, and now we're not, you know, good enough if we're not shaking our ass. But if we're shaking our ass, then we're sitting here being too ratchet because that's why the men aren't choosing us. And, you know, then the men are out here flashing their money and they're trying to get women, but if the women come after them, they're gold diggers. Like it's just so it's so like just ratchet now, where it really makes it hard to find those ones that are really speaking on bringing back that old school home ethic, those good morals back, and really bringing back true love in relationships. So it makes it really tough because they're trying to destroy that, putting all the ugliness out there that's making it bigger than what the beautiful part of Black love really is.
All right, ladies. So that was one question. I love that it inspired so much dialogue and thoughts. Dr. Hutchins, I'm checking in with you because I know the chat was popping and I don't know what's going on with Facebook. So if there's anything you want to share or read from the chat or Facebook.
I don't have Facebook. My phone died, but okay. I do have chat. I do have the chat. So Secret said Black women are hurt, and our hurt is portrayed as anger. We have hurt each other, and instead of fixing, we leave it to settle on its own. Kiana said true, but some men want to show off these type of women as trophies, talking about the women that show everything and got everything out. But we talked about the other ones. Let's see. All right, Sabrina. We might as well make Sabrina a part of the chat. She in this chat going. Also, a lot of Black men really, as someone said, intimidated with women who have the ability to express themselves with efficiency. They keep sticking to the round the way girls. Brothers got to step up to the plate. Black women can't solve these problems. There is nothing on the face of the earth more powerful than a self-assured, strong position Black man who is comfortable in his skin and is so powerful. Man, you get 2 snaps for that. Yes. And then this is good. Also, I also feel like Black men don't have a lot of good tangible examples. So they don't have
a great statement.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that makes me think of the next question I want to pose. What are the specific obstacles that we specifically face in our community? We've kind of dabbled in that, and one of them could be, do Black men have tangible examples? And let's start with Ari, then Brittany, Marlia, Nikki B, Dr. Hutchins, Secret, Mary, Butter, Kiana, and Jamia. So whatever obstacles that you come up with that specifically we face in our community.
Well, I'll answer the question. No, I don't think they have many tangible examples of what, quote unquote, a structured Black man should be. I will say this. In my last 2 years, just with dating, I found that there is a sequence. The more successful the Black man, he tend to have his dad in his life. And unfortunately, because a lot of us were 80s babies, 70s, 80s babies, I don't know if we got any 90s babies here, but that crack epidemic and era took us out. And they took the fathers out of the homes, whether it's because of drug use or because of jail. And then before social media, we had TV. So what did our Black men have to look at? Music. I mean, I love rap, but let's be honest. A lot of rap is very demeaning to women and to Black women in particular. So if you don't have a male in the household and then your favorite rapper is saying, F this bitch here, and I don't want to get married, and she's only good for this and this and this, and you know, people are impressionable. That person has money, so of course I'm going to go ahead and go in lines with what he's thinking. And then you finally meet a Black girl that you like and you want to love, but you don't have an example of how to make a relationship work. I've heard this from my boyfriend, who's a Black man. He says, you know, sometimes they're doing the best they can. He said, I don't know what I'm doing. It's like having your first child. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to communicate with you. I don't know what you need. I've never seen a successful relationship. I've never seen a man take care of a woman. So I'm just out here needing help. All I know is I love you. And sometimes that gets lost in translation with the lack of communication, with the lack of ability to be able to either have the finances to show you and things like that. So I don't think Black men have our generation. I will say it's getting better because, again, our generation now, we've acquired some money, we've acquired some status. So now a lot of us are in mixed race. I live in Mayfield, Lyndhurst area. So it's like a melting pot here. A lot of my friends have the same thing going on. So I know my son, even though me and his dad aren't together, he's an excellent father. You know, we co-parent very well. So I know my son is going to be able to know what it looks like to have a reputable, strong Black man in his life. And that's a blessing. But if you're born before 1995, it's real hard out here for you when it comes to Black men. Some Black men just thought it was okay not to even take care of your kids. And now I'm seeing Black men be proud when they have kids. Like, I want to walk my kids to school. I love daddy and daughter, like daddy-daughter dances and stuff, but I didn't see that growing up.
Such a good point as far as them just loving you, but not knowing how to love you healthy or properly, or how to maintain a healthy relationship. Mm-hmm. All right, who is next? I'm gonna scroll down the chat. Brittany.
Okay, like the question was, have they had Black men had good examples? I think another part of the breakdown with that, I don't think they always have. I think another part of the breakdown is not only in the household that became an issue, but your neighborhood, you used to have examples, right? Like, and sometimes that would be a saving grace for some people. I would say too, just from my own experience, I've seen both sides of it. Like, my parents were married for a period of time and they got divorced when I was a teenager. So I saw two-parent household and single-parent household. And even with, you know, some of the issues and stuff, you know, that adults have and different things, they tend to do the best that they can. But some people don't even experience that to any degree. So, like, what do you have? I think too, sometimes I've seen it, like, as far as, you know, in both dynamics, male and female, when they see their parent do, you know, have certain type of lifestyles, they either choose that exact same way and follow in their footsteps, and if it's dysfunctional, or they take another look at themselves and it's like, okay, I'm looking at this situation, it's not working, my life has not been in the best of places, so let me go the total opposite direction. So I think when you get sometimes to a certain age, and it takes a lot of, you know, just from within and just really doing that digging and really, you know, if you know God and asking God for direction with that, the older you become in regards to how you choose to have your life directed. Are you going to go this route or are you not going to go this route? But that definitely, by them not having good examples, has had an impact. And again, too, just the family generational thing. Like sometimes you would have like those matriarchs and patriarchs in the family. Some of it was dysfunctional, but then you had those strong rooted examples that always gave you something that just stuck with you just throughout, your life. And some things I'm sure people could think of that it still sticks with them today, like some of the things they were taught when they were young. But some people did not have those experiences. I like to say, being the 80s babies, it was a hit or miss for some of us for certain things. Some people got that full experience, some people got partial, and some people did not receive it at all. So I do think that plays an impact as well as far as the examples. But again, like when we get to a certain point, the choice is ours of which direction our life is going to go.
Thank you, Brittany. I definitely agree that we're accountable for our choices. Marlia?
I am on the side of it not being enough good examples. I would say even if you were fortunate enough to have a 2-parent household, it doesn't mean that you saw a love and respect model. Was that man really loving that woman? Was that woman really respecting that man? So I don't believe that there are enough good examples. I've even learned as I've gotten older and I've gotten in this space of being around more married couples that there are women and men who aren't even faithful to their spouses. So you're talking about a man who might have 3 friends that are married, but those examples within those 3 friends, these men are all stepping outside of the relationship. Some of these men are hitting their women, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, just because people are together, it does not mean that it is a sufficient example. So I do not think that our people have enough good examples. And for the people who do have, really good relationships, yeah, you might be able to find them on social media. You might be able to find them with like a marriage hashtag, and maybe they're talking about it, but there's some people who have thriving relationships who don't even share what keeps them where they are or the different things that have assisted them. I do believe that there is a lot of programming, a lot of subconscious programming going on with the music, as well as television and movies. You're not seeing healthy Black couples. Like, what's the one that was really popular? This Is Us was a beautiful example of a husband and wife. But outside of that show, like within the past 15 years, okay, I also love Blackish. That was a really good couple too. But still, you see, and even what the kids are watching now, a lot of the men are like homosexual Black men in these shows that our kids are watching now. There isn't this strong Black man and this beautiful Black woman. Like, you just don't see it. So right now, I don't even know where these men go. And then even for the men who are doing it and are doing it well, are they articulating this, or do they not even know how to communicate? So it's just like, I think there is a lack of examples within families, within communities, on social media, in media. We need better examples, and examples that are honest and truthful and allow us to see the behind the scenes. They're not just showing up for pictures and being cute, wearing matching outfits, but they're like, hey, we had an issue. She didn't want to have sex with me last night, and this is how we processed that. Or he lost his job, or she has a spending problem. Like, let's talk about it, So there definitely needs to be more examples.
Thank you, Marlia. Nikki B?
Yeah, that's really good, Marlia, what you're talking about. I think a lot of times, not only men, but okay, we'll stay here. Sometimes I have to keep myself focused, right? And what we're talking about, but I believe it can apply to all of us. But when it comes to men, no, I don't think that there are enough positive examples that are highlighted. I'll say that. There are positive role models and examples of how to be a man and what it means to be a man. But again, they're not always highlighted. You definitely, scriptures tells us to seek and you will find, right? But if you're not seeking that positive, if you're not seeking that good thing, you're not going to find it. Right. So if you're only going to go as far as what's around you. So that it's really unfortunate, especially when it comes to Black men, because our Black men die early, right? Not only with health issues, but mental instabilities and things like that as well. So unfortunately, they don't have the opportunity
as other cultures to be able to have that, or have the opportunity to have a good positive role model. Nevertheless, right? I think we do steer away from, and it's not popular, unfortunately. Scripture shares with us a man of good character, how to conduct yourself. That is the book of how to live life and how to have a good character, right? And those things that mean, well, it defines good character. I'll just say that. So it's really important to have a mentor. I know me in my dating stage and my singleness, when I do have the opportunity to meet a good looking Black man, right? And I mean good looking, not only via his face or his shoulders or the way he looks, right? Because a scripture also says, no, that's not him. You're looking at his stature and not on the inside, right? So I'll always ask a guy, who's your mentor? Who's your coach? Who's your pastor, right? That kind of thing. So, yeah. So that it's unfortunate that there are not enough good positive examples, but there are if we seek and we find it.
Thanks, Nikki B. Dr. Hutchins, did you want to chime in?
Yes, and I do want to get to the chat too. There was a couple of statements. But I agree with what everyone has said, and also thinking about what does a role model look like, because everybody has a different definition of what a role model look like, because what I think of a role model might be something different than you. And to understand that sometimes it's good that we have to go find. Sometimes it's not. I mean, we all say that networking is good, right? But people want networking to come to them. So sometimes we have to go find those particular individuals that we are seeking to be those role models, and we have to talk and let them know, because sometimes Black men don't understand that they are role models, but they don't see themselves as that, right? So we have to understand that we have to acknowledge and let them know, because we can always assume, but I always say when we assume, we make an ass out of ourselves and them. So we need to make sure that we let them know, you'll be a great person. It's not about what you do for a living. It's how you carry yourself. You will be a good mentor. You will be a good role model for individuals. Have you ever thought about that? Because all they just need is you will be good at this.
So affirm our men. I love that.
Yes. So Lauren said there are many Black men, especially fathers, who are married or not married, trying to show it is possible to live a legit life without feeling the pressure of society to be something that they don't need to be. Also, Lauren again, also, I think when Black men try to step out and be themselves, do we really accept them for who they are, or do we have our expectations where wherever they come from, try to drive the relationship? So we have our own just as much as men have expectations on us, we low-key have expectations of them too. So understanding that, but okay.
All right, Secret, you're up.
Yay, the 90s baby. No, so as a 90s baby, I gotta say this because this is something that I've noticed amongst myself and literally probably all of my friends. Men don't have a good tangible example, but we didn't either. A lot of our moms they're either the late 60s or the early 70s they were serial daters. And serial daters create serial daters. And so therefore we didn't have an example of what real love was either, because 9 times out of 10, if you're a serial dater, a lot of your relationships are probably going to be toxic. So from someone who grew up with a brother, and my mother treated my brother like he was a prince, and I wasn't treated like a princess. I was treated like I was bred to be independent. So I don't think that either one of us had, for my generation, I don't think that either one of us had any type of tangible examples there to even lead us and to let us know. And for the women, we had to go and get our examples off of social media, out of the tabloids, what was on TV, what was in books. And like I said, my first example of love came from a book, The Worst Thing Ever. Why? Because I read Hood Tales. So that means my first example of love told me that I had to struggle and I had to stand beside a man until he got his life together. So if that's my first example of love, and then the man's first example of love from my generation is typically going to either be TV or music, they weren't taught anything different than what I was taught. They weren't taught to respect women. They weren't taught to love women. They weren't taught to show women respect, nor was love a popular thing. Like, love hasn't been a glorified thing on both ends. Being submissive as a woman has not been a glorified thing. It wasn't until recently, with me doing my own journey and doing my own studies, that I realized that being submissive did not mean I had to shut up and listen. And that was something that I had to go and dig up myself, because I was raised by my grandmother, who was an old school Bible toter. So therefore, their version of submission is not the same as everybody else's version of submission. So I don't want to use the fact that they didn't have an example as an excuse to why the reason Black love is the way it is right now. There are so many reasons why Black love is the way that it is right now, and that's because of the way that it is portrayed. But I will say that neither one of us had the example. Women were raised to be independent in my generation, and the men were actually taking the place of the boyfriend in my generation.
Good points. Mary?
I think that there are many good examples, but they're just not glorified, or those are the ones that were raised in a good environment, or even wasn't a good environment. They took from that and they decided to treat their families a lot different because they didn't want them to go through the same experiences that they did. I just don't think that we see it enough, because you know the whole phrase, you attract how you act. But if you're not in that rhythm of those type of people, then you won't see it. I see it all the time. I think I see a whole bunch of Black love examples for especially the men. I see a lot of good examples, a lot of professionals. I would speak on mine in particular. He loved family. He's a great example to his children, all that good stuff. But if you're busy, hardworking, and all that kind of stuff, how do you get an opportunity to even put that on display? And then going back before, like, I'm an 80s baby. So back in the day, our families did have good examples. Like I just spoke before, like my grandfather, he wasn't perfect, but he did show us a good example of how a Black man is supposed to be there for his wife and vice versa. So did my parents. But I just think that it's not glorified enough. That's, they don't talk about that as much, the examples for the Black men in particular. That it's just not talked about, but I think it's a whole bunch of them out there. It's a lot of examples.
Thank you, Mary. Butter?
So I agree with pretty much everything a lot of you ladies are saying. So it's kind of hard to really have a lot to say, besides reiterating everything. But just a couple of key points I wanted to make was that it's like a bandwagon time to me. Everybody's on this bandwagon. I think they make doing bad easier. There's a lot of depression. There's a lot of people who don't want to take therapy, and men are taught that therapy is not good. Like, they just are scared to face that. It's okay to talk to somebody. And we're out here depressed and lost because this world is weird once again. So, and I also feel like it's not just, I'm not going to sit here and say it's so hard to find a good Black man, because I know there's a lot of good Black men out there, because I know a lot of them. They're good friends of mine. So I know they exist. I just honestly feel like I had to start to own up to my mistakes and my issues myself. I'm making bad decisions. I was manifesting things in my head, not realizing it until I got to this certain mature level. Once I hit 40, I started to realize that I allowed one bad situation to curve my thought process so bad that I was attracting all the bad things that I said I did not want. I had been through a domestic abusive marriage. I was married for 8 years, and it was horrifying. I call it Alcatraz. And it was just devastating. And I allowed that to beat me down so low that I would start to say things like, maybe love isn't for me. maybe this is just what I'm going to have the rest of my life. Maybe I was just meant to just have kids and just be a single mom and be out here like that. Or, maybe I don't deserve it yet, or I did something wrong and I need to fix myself. So I'm manifesting, attracting people who were willing to treat me in that light. The more I started to walk in my light and realize what I am capable of, how strong of a beautiful Black woman I am, and what I can really do, and how great of a woman and wife I will be to someone, the better my life started becoming. And I just had to receive that it just wasn't my train coming yet. So I know it's coming. And it's not that the men out here are just horrible that I'm facing, because a lot of them just really don't have it all right now, but neither do we. It's just that it's just not my turn yet, because I can feel it coming. So I think there's comes to a point where we have to accept our own flaws too, to realize that we see what we want to see and hear what we want to hear. And it's like, when we say like, this man is this and this and that, and it's kind of like, no, we're putting so much on this one Black man. This may not be for us, that we're starting to put that label on a lot of other Black men, the same as they do to us. So I'm not saying like that's what everyone's doing. That's just my opinion of sometimes we tend to not look at our own flaws and choices that we are making ourselves that are causing a lot of the experiences that we're having. But I do know that because I raised 3 Black men, and they are wonderfully respectful young Black men, and they're going to make great husbands to someone. They're not perfect, but they're going to make great husbands. They're very respectful. They are driven, and everything on the check off great list, and I think that we just have to start to look at ourselves and what we're allowing and accepting, and then start to implement that on, who are we putting ourselves around that's allowing that type of light to receive, what's not really working for us. Just an opinion.
Definitely agree with those points. Thank you so much for your vulnerability. Kiana?
All right. So for me, I totally agree with just about everything that everyone has said. And I definitely believe that the obstacles were there from the beginning. This goes back to like having good, healthy role models and having the people to learn from, whether they're in your family or having a mentor, having a therapist or something like that. And the culture for most Black people, women mainly, is to be independent. And then that challenge in itself can harm your relationship because you're just being too independent. And that can sometimes intimidate some men. I know earlier we talked about the statistics and we talked about, the money and things that men make and them actually choosing a Black woman. But think about the fact that there are some Black women that do make a lot of money and the men aren't making as much money, and that sometimes harbors the relationship. And some women, hurt themselves in the relationship sector because they don't know how to allow the man to be just that, be the man in the relationship. She can do and feel like she's doing everything, and her ego can get in the way, and then his ego can get in the way. And it's like where the conversation isn't really happening the way it should be. You're not communicating, you're bumping heads, and you're like putting all of these stipulations into the relationship where, everybody's struggling and not knowing where they can fit in because they didn't see it. They didn't have the patterns that were good and healthy. They're having those toxic relationships that are just starting to have like a domino effect. I know at least that's my experience, and I really didn't think of it as being a serial dater, but that's pretty much what I was, because I was looking for something and I didn't really know what I was looking for. And for men, it hurts them when they never really have or know or see or feel love, and that emotion is like taken away from them so early in life because they're playing outside and they get hurt or something like that, and they're like, stop crying, toughen up, be tough, stop, don't show no emotion. And that's like embedded in them. And as a woman trying to, raise a boy, I didn't raise boys, I raised girls, but I can see the difference where the woman is treated away and then the boy is treated away when they're growing up. And it just harbors their lifestyle. and really, you know, doesn't change unless they actually do get some type of help or a good mentor, a good person, a good friend, or somebody to help guide them in the right direction.
Thank you, Kiana. And Jamia.
I will try to keep it short. I want to, I guess, just, so what I'll say as far as men and role models, what I will say is that I do think that men are searching, like Black men are searching. And that's why a lot of them have found safety and a message that resonates with them within this manosphere stuff. So if you've ever like talked to a man or been around a man who is aligned with that type of thinking, I think a lot of it is rooted in pain. You know, so coming across a number of different men who, you know, they got their own rejection issues or different things that they're dealing with or hurts that they feel, and that, you know, in ways that they accuse Black women of being a part of why they are the way that they are. So I think when somebody is seeking out something unhealthy like that, with like, you know, as far as like what's taught with the whole manosphere stuff, I think to Butter's point with her bringing up, it's like, you see what you want to see, you hear what you want to hear. It's like when we're in tune with an expectation, like this is what all Black men are doing right now, then that's all we gonna see, Black men that are doing that right now, versus having the mindset of, you know, like I know, like, and also the point that she made about working on yourself, because that was a real big one for me, like me becoming healthier, me making healthier choices for me, and then that being able to put me in a position where I can identify a man who is also operating in a healthy pattern that is not aligned with the whole manosphere stuff, because that's not where he's at. Now, he might have some other issues. I'm thinking about somebody real specific, but and not that I don't have my own. I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is it was refreshing to come across someone who I'm like, okay, like this work that I'm doing on myself is paying off, because here's someone who's come across my path who can, you know, function on a healthier level, you know? And so I think that's more or less kind of the way that it, I don't know, like that also sounds like I'm talking a good game. You know, Nicole is the one that hears most of my complaints and and cries. I sound real good right now, though. I'm saying I sound real good. You know, this is a strong day, you know, but so that's all.
Thank you guys so much for sharing. I think there are a lot of different reasons as to why our community struggles. For me, I would root it back to slavery. I know that's been mentioned. We think about how men were removed from women, marriages were torn apart. Men had to witness their wives being brutally sexualized by quote unquote masters. And there's just so much trauma in our DNA. And I am a believer in generational either blessings or trauma, that we are not separated from our ancestors. And if things are not healed, specifically in our DNA, then it's going to keep repeating the cycles. For me, like I said, I didn't have those examples, but I have been on a journey of healing and becoming healthier and looking for men who are on that same journey. So even if men do have a deficit of not having those strong examples of strong men in their lives or healthy relationships, just as I didn't, I wasn't raised in that household, there's still an accountability and a responsibility for you to level up. And so in this experience of dating, I do feel like it's rare to find men on that same wavelength. And we've touched on it. Some of that is because they're told you can't be vulnerable, you can't show emotion, you can't get therapy. It's like Black men are just now kind of tapping into therapy. I feel like therapy is kind of like a hot topic right now in the Black community in general. Our history is you go to Jesus, that's all you need. Well, counseling is a fruit of the spirit. I feel like, you know, like we need to be tapping into wisdom and knowledge. And so I think there's a lot of different reasons, but at the end of the day, you are accountable. Like we can't choose the hand that we're dealt. but we are accountable for what we make out of it, right? So there's a lot of reasons as to why our community gets hit. I do want to share some of these things from the chat before we wrap up, because we are wrapping up. It's been a very meaty topic, as I knew it would be. So we have Robin, even a lot of Black women don't have prime examples of a long-standing Black relationship or a great woman figure in their life to learn love in a relationship. It definitely leads to dysfunction and confusion from both sides, men and women. It's disheartening. And again, it's like we both are kind of in that same boat. They have their issues, we have ours, but it's about doing the work. And for me, I know you guys touched on independence. That is definitely a thing for me, being the independent, strong Black woman. And that's why I'm grateful for community and learning how to be interdependent and leaning into that growth of being healthier. Santusi, let's also not forget the fact that most males have to grow to the point where it is cool to be in a committed relationship and treating your lady like a queen and wanting that family versus wanting to be cool by being a player, no commitment, and basing their worth and value off of the number of women you can get. You better preach. Because I definitely had an experience of that mindset, and I recognize it's an immature mentality. It's definitely in hip hop. That is a clear message. And sadly, you have 40-year-old grown men still believing it's hot to be a player, whatever. Then we have Sabrina at Robin. Just as the Jewish, Asian, and Greek communities have after school and Saturday schools to teach culture and history so their legacies don't die away, we have to establish the same. I think that's a powerful suggestion for us to teach the next generation about our heritage and our culture. Honestly, for me, my writing is that platform. That's why I specialize in writing stories that depict Black culture and spirituality. I recognize that's my purpose, but I definitely agree with that. And then Robin, very true. We don't even try to explain and teach that. Us as a people don't think about legacy and culture. We rather think about what looks good in the eyes of other people and put on a specific persona. It's a shame. And that makes me think about our culture being all about like materialism and like, we got swag, we're cool, we fly, you know, but a lot of that stuff is so surface and is not meaningful as far as character, mindset, intellect. Marlia, affirming men is so important. Nicole, scripture shares what the wise woman builds up and a folly woman tears down. And then Dr. Hutchins left. Sabrina, to love Blackness, we have to understand that the standards of beauty for us is not European beauty. Whew, that's a whole nother topic. It's African beauty, which is a whole different set of standards. And, you know, we can get into that in another conversation as far as how Westernized views of beauty. And we did kind of talk a little bit about this in our last conversation. You could check it out on the YouTube. And it was just about how our standards of beauty in America have shaped our views as Black people. And then Brittany, men are not given a space where they can be vulnerable in many cases and in turn internalize their emotions. And I agree, as women, we just kind of flock together. We go to the bathroom together. I have so many like sisters in my life that I pour out to on a daily, and I don't come across as many men who have that. Some of them do, but it's definitely less when it comes to us, I think. Okay, guys, so thank you guys for joining Girl Talk. Can Black love still happen? I think overall, we touched on a lot, but at the end of the day, we do still believe it can, right? And we do recognize we do have specific trauma and challenges that come against that being exemplified in our culture, but it is possible, and we're just looking for our counterparts who have the heart to love us, but want to do the work to have a healthy relationship. Are there any last pieces of encouragement that you guys want to share that can help equip single Black women in finding healthy Black counterparts or love? If there's any resources, I know Marlia is going to share some things, so we'll call on her first, but any resources, podcasts, books, you can even put them in the chats and we'll definitely, you know, tap in. But go ahead, Marlia. I'm sorry, you're on mute.
I don't remember who actually brought this up. I want to say it was maybe something that Butter had said or someone else, but it's very important, ladies, for you to shift how you see yourself and how you go about moving in this world. If you desire to be a wife, you're not going to be at the grocery store looking for the next guy. You're going to be walking confidently because you know you already have someone. If this is one thing that God told me, I was single for 4 years, raising my kids on my own. And he said, you want to be a wife? Act like one now. I want this bed clean. I want this bed made up. I want your food made by a certain day. Like, he had me doing this like whole house building thing before my husband even came into my life. So when my husband came into my life and we got married, I had all these habits and this structure in place where he walked into a ready-made wife and family, which was really important. But here are some resources, guys. There's this book called The Law and the Promise. It's written by a man called Neville Goddard, and he is all about shifting the world around you by shifting who you are in the inside. And he talks about being intentional with your imagination and being intentional with your actions and different things. Neville Goddard's The Law and the Promise. There's also a woman who was in the 1930s. She wrote several books. Her name is Florence Scovel Shinn. You can find her books on YouTube. You can just listen to them. But she teaches people how to just get whatever success they want. And I have used techniques from Neville as well as Florence, and even like things like The Secret. Like, you really have to shift who you are. And as you become a different person, as your cells change, as your mind changes, as your energy changes, as the way you walk changes, and become more that person, whether that's a wife, whether that's someone who's healed from a chronic disease, whether that's someone who is financially wealthy. As you shift yourself on a mental and cellular level, the whole world around you will reflect that. So I do think that we have to change your conversation. Start saying things like, I am a wife. Start affirming, I am a wife. I am loved by a wonderful man. I have a wonderful husband. And start seeing yourself as this person. Start seeing yourself. I used to do crazy stuff, like have conversations like, hey, I had a good day. I'm so happy to see you. Just talking to nobody, just talking to the thin air. But I needed my cells and my brain to start to rewire with different conversations and exposing it to different things. And lo and behold, my husband stepped into my life, but he actually stepped in when I shared this with Nicole at a time that I told God, God, you are enough. I don't need a man. All I want to do is be a single mom, empowering other single moms to live out their purpose full time. And 3 weeks after I said that, my husband's in the audience giving me his business card. Like, that was a great speech. Let's hook up. No, I'm just kidding. But for real, right when I just gave it all to God, he walked into my life.
I love it. I love Marlia's testimony and the power of our mindset and the thinking as a man thinks in his heart. So is he is so true. We're going to hear from Brittany, then Mary, then Secret, then Butter.
I just wanted to say too, thank you so much for including the conversation. This was really good. And I just wanted to say, just to be comfortable in the space and the season that you're in. I think many times, it's just put out there so much, you have to be in this space and that space by this age or that age, that we miss the moment in the space and the seasons that we're in our lives. So just to be comfortable in the space and that you're in and to where you're going. And then I would just say, for advice, have great, honest conversations and communication. That's key. And a book that I would suggest are the 5 Love Languages. It's, it's simplistic and it's interesting to, get into that whole space with that and just some of the dynamics that people have about themselves. So that's all, keeping it short. Thank you all.
Brady, you bring up such a good point about not comparing. We all have a unique story and all of our stages are different. And I know Butter touched on this too, as far as knowing that her time just hasn't come. So thank you for that reminder. Mary?
I just wanted to say, for the ladies, like, just give yourself some grace. And just like Marlia was saying, like, you can manifest anything that you want in life. And it wasn't for me. It wasn't that big for me until I really started to just stop being so hard on myself. And this whole list of who you have, who you think you want to be with, and they got to check off all these boxes. I get that, but just give yourself some grace. And if the more you love on you, the more you will attract, especially in a relationship. You got to be able to give that same energy that you want from a man to yourself, and he'll respect you more. And you're definitely going to manifest the man that God has chosen for you. And one little tidbit I wanted to share, as far as self-reflection go, my friend had bought me some cards that were called "Who Are You?" And it proposes all these questions. It's by Mind Compass. I'll put it in the chat. And it proposes all these questions that you can ask yourself, and you just do the homework and you write it down. And, and then you can go back for like more self-reflection. But I think that was the biggest thing for me. It wasn't until I started doing the work on myself is then when I found my exact match that God had chosen for me. And excuse me, I love God. I'm gonna constantly keep saying it because I believe in him and what he does for me in my personal life. And so if it wasn't for him keeping me until I was ready to be whole enough for a man that I wanted on this high level, or that list that I was going down or whatever, then, I wouldn't have been able to gain what I have now. So just give yourself some grace, be patient with yourself, and be a little bit more open to our Black men, because they don't have it all together. Stop being so judgmental and let them be who they are. And if it ain't a match, it ain't a match. If it's something that you can agree with it. But just, give yourself some grace, love on you, and give them a little bit of grace too.
Thank you so much, Mary. You definitely don't have to apologize for sharing your truth and being true to yourself with your faith. And I think Secret and then Butter, is that what the order was? Secret and Butter?
Yes. So I just wanted to say thank you. It's always a pleasure to be in a part of these girl talks, mostly because I'm always the baby. And so I always leave with some wisdom from, women who have experienced a lot more life than me. So I always am very appreciative of that. One of the resources that I feel like really helped me not only understand myself, but understand men and maybe their thought process was a book by Dr. John Gray, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. So I certainly recommend everyone to read that book, because even if you aren't looking to understand a man, read the book because you're looking to understand yourself. And I'm heavy on the grace. That was my only New Year's resolution, was to have grace on myself so that I could bestow it onto others. I like that Mary said that, because now I'm going to move forward with actually extending that grace to men.
Thank you, Secret.
Thank you. Have a good night, ladies.
Thank you. Butter, gonna close us out?
Yes, I just want to say, first of all, it was a pleasure being a part of this and meeting all of you ladies who I did not meet previously. You guys are all beautiful and had some amazing things to say. I try to take notes again so I can stay on track. Just holding yourselves accountable is what I want to leave with. Hold yourself accountable for the things that we're trying to do. Stop putting so much on someone else if we're not willing to step up and be everything that we say that we really are. Because I don't want to sit here and tell a man I need this, but I'm not sitting here being the woman that I say that I really am. Am I really that supportive? Am I really going to uplift you? Am I really going to, do the things that I say I'm doing? Am I that positive? And I can't expect that type of love if I'm not pouring that love out or loving myself correctly. And really quickly, I have a friend that it's a client, but a good friend that came in the shop, and he said, "You have been glowing." And I said that, a lot of people think I'm glowing because I have a man. There is no man. And actually, honestly, just a few months ago, I had went through a very short, bad situation. I'm glowing because I am happy. I'm glowing because I know God loves me. And I have been feeling so light. And that light had been glowing and showing through. So it's like my world has gotten bright. I haven't thought about or worried about there's no man by my side or I don't have any dates. I am absolutely happy with myself. And I know that it shows. So that's what I'm attracting. You will attract what you put out. The last thing I wanted to say was the resource. I don't have a resource. I want to say that the resource should be us. This right here, this platform that that you have put together right here is something that we need to have more of. In my studio, it's called Ink Therapy because I give therapy. When God gives me a message, I try to give that out. If you walk into my studio, leave the bullshit outside. When you come in here, I want positivity. I am going to talk to you. If you're having a rough day, let's cry and let's get rid of it. And let me try to tell you what good things you should be thinking of versus the bad and the negative. When you have a sister that's sitting next to you saying, I'm about to do this or acting crazy, try to check her. Stop letting everybody just be out there going loosey-goosey and acting crazy. And we're talking about we're trying to be a community. My best friend can't walk out talking crazy. She's married. No, I'm going to check her. That's not cool with me. I'm not going to agree with everything that you say. And we could still love each other and disagree. But where's the support that we're really having each other instead of talking about each other? So this right here needs to be bigger and start to let's hold ourselves accountable and hold each other accountable more often and be more supportive of Black women so we can be better, so we can raise the Black man to be the men that we are out here looking for. Because I have 3 amazing ones, and I'm really praying that there's going to be some good Black women when it's time for them to go and start to build their own families. So thank you for hearing me out and for letting me be a part of this today. I'm honored.
Wow, you got me emotional, girl. I love it. Thank you guys just so much for your hearts to offer your time, your wisdom, your thoughts. I am encouraged that there's so many women in this space who are raising strong Black men. So I'm like, okay, next generation, we got you. But yeah, I appreciate all of the dialogue. I personally have walked this out with a close group of women who have just been, holding the standard, keeping the faith, and believing God for his best. So I will keep all of you in prayer. I already have been. I've asked the same. As we try to be our authentic selves. So I'll be sharing this again in our the YouTube channel. You'll get an email with the link. Thank you to all of our panelists. I will be sending out this chat. Definitely support local Black businesses and be on the lookout for the next Girl Talk. We've been doing them quarterly. They're the last Sunday of each quarter. I didn't get to do it in April because I had my book launch. I just had too much going on. But like you said, growth, that's definitely happening. And again, I just appreciate all of you guys hearing the spirit, coming in unity, forming a tribe, forming community. I would not be where I am today without my community. So thank you guys for being a part of my community. All right, guys, that's all we have. Thank you for your time. Be on the lookout for the next Girl Talk, and we will talk soon.
Nice to meet you guys.
Blessings to everyone. See you guys.
Bye, everyone.
Night, everyone. Have an amazing day, you all, or good evening. Yeah.